From a flightless simulator at Ferris Air to a momentous meeting in an alley, to the complex mind of an architect, to every far sector in space, and to the brilliance of the central power battery on Oa. This is the podcast that covers the adventures of all of your favorite ring slingers. This is the Emerald Echo with your hosts, Adam and the Emerald Enthusiast.
Welcome to another episode of Emerald Echo, a Green Lantern podcast and vidcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam. And with me is my co-host, Donnie, the Emerald Enthusiast himself. Donnie, what's going on?
What's up, Lantern fans? It's the man whose ring runs on fanboy energy. It is the Emerald Enthusiast, and we're back with another episode of the Emerald Echo.
Always good to sit down and talk about Green Lantern with you. We have a nice amount of one bit of news, really, and then we're going to talk about my adventures with Green Lantern, the animated series that has been announced. Then we're going to discuss Guy Gardner's appearance in Peacemaker season 2, and then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to the comics we're doing today are Green Lantern Corps number 7 and Green Lantern number 26.
The Starbreaker Supremacy Part 2 and 3.
Yes. And so that's on the agenda today. So, Donnie, let's get right into it. We know that there is an animated series, My Adventures with the Green Lantern, right. That is in continuity.
I was going to say, it might cross over with My Adventures.
Yeah, they're in continuity with My Adventures with Superman.
Yeah.
So My Adventures with Green Lantern, it's going to star Jessica Cruz is going to be the main focus of the show. I believe, if I'm getting my story details right, she may be in high school at this point, so they're doing things a little differently than the comic books. But spoilers, that's okay. I mean, not everything has to be a literal adaptation of every comic story ever written.
There are still ways to get the characters right.
Right, exactly. It's the intention. I look at it as what is are the intentions of the characters, what they're supposed to be, and are the core elements of that character's personality and characteristics present.
Core elements.
Yeah,
I see what you did there.
Wow, I didn't do it on purpose. I'd be too smart if I did that on purpose. So those are the things that I look forward to when I'm watching these characters in another medium that's not the comics. Right? So, and if those are there, then I'm cool. I mean, look, if a Green Lantern is wearing a turquoise, pink outfit, then hey, somebody did something wrong there, because it's just hello, it's Green Lantern.
Yeah.
But so the errors or the changes would have to be so egregious that these characters don't resemble the character they're supposed to be for me to get upset. Like, for example, Halle Berry's Catwoman. You can call that Catwoman. That ain't Catwoman.
Right.
So
very different. Yes.
That's where I sort of start getting, all right, this ain't right. But otherwise, I mean, hey, you want to put Jessica Cruz in high school to appeal to a younger audience? Go for it. Fine by me. So a couple of things we've gleaned since that announcement are that so the casting call sort of went out for voice casting, and it said there's a singing component. So at some point, I'm assuming Jessica's going to sing, which sure, no problem there.
No, that might not be my cup of tea, but I'll see how that goes first. We'll see.
I mean, I don't think, my thing is, I don't think it's going to be an entire musical episode.
Right.
So
if it's like the way that Joe West did on The Flash at one time, the way they utilized that, I liked that.
Yeah, again, it comes down to what is the intention of the episode.
Now we start doing musical episodes, I'm going to be like, eh.
Yeah, that might be one that I skip or just fast forward through the singing. But that's again, it all goes back to intention. But we do have some, along with those casting notices, are other characters that are going to appear. So one character is Nikki Jones, who I've never heard of. Actually, she is in the comics. Not familiar to me, but apparently she's a character that was originally a member of Lex Luthor's Infinity Inc. I'm not familiar with her, but that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But more important to Donnie and I is the inclusion of Kyle Rayner, aka Green Lantern. Ion is one of his identities. He's been right. So obviously, people familiar with this show know who Kyle Rayner is. Where in this, all we know about Nikki is that she's the lifelong best friend of Jessica Cruz, whereas details about Kyle are being kept under wraps. So I wonder if he's going to already be a Green Lantern at this point,
mm-hmm.
and maybe serve as kind of like a mentor or something. I don't know, but that's just something that comes to mind. We also have news that Alex DeWitt is going to be in the show, as well as Kilowog.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Nikki Jones was a different version. It was in, I believe it was 2007. She was created by Jeff Johns. She's a different version of Jade, I think. She doesn't necessarily have to be, but that could be where they're going.
All I know is that according to the in the description, it says she was a member of Lex Luthor's Infinity Inc. So I must have missed that run.
Yeah,
but cool that she's in the comics. Great, and from my opinion, it's just going to be great to see Kyle again. Again, whether we get a standard origin for him or not, I'm not that concerned. It's just nice to see him again in another media outside of comics.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about how little he's been adapted over the years. Very little at all. By the way, actually a Kyle Rayner panel, I don't know if you know this, there was a Kyle Rayner panel that made an appearance on the TV show Lost.
Oh, I don't remember. I watched.
Yeah,
Lost.
Hurley was Hurley was reading the comic Faster Friends.
Oh,
at one point. And the panels, of course, they were all in the background and they went by really fast. But of course, as a Kyle Rayner fan, I'm like, hey, I know that story.
Yeah, you and I, whenever we see comic books in the show, we're like, oh, yeah. We do that Leonardo DiCaprio gif where we sit up and point. Right. Like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
And I probably have that issue.
Yeah, like literally on The Big Bang Theory, every time they walk by the battery that was in the apartment, that was Kyle's battery, I'm like, oh, I want it.
But also, every time they're looking through comics, I'm like, have that. Right? Yep. That's just what I do, right? But again, I'm just excited to see him again in another medium.
And I've seen some fans already melting down. They're like, oh, you can't do that to Kyle because you can't do his origin. I'm like, wait, can we wait to see the show first before we automatically start transforming into Debbie Downers?
And again, I don't like to admit when being wrong. It's not a pastime that I engage in frequently, as much as But when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And my thought process was going into my adventures with Superman, since this shares continuity. When I first saw the trailers, I'm like, wow, that's probably not geared towards me.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's Superman, I'll check out the first episode and see what happens. And I checked out the first episode and I ended up loving the show.
And it got progressively better.
Yeah. as most shows do. Like typically when you're watching a show, sometimes the first couple episodes are rocky, but then it finds its footing. So like I said, I'm excited to see Kyle. Alex DeWitt being there is cool as well. Like awesome. And Kilowog, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want to see Kilowog?
Yeah, definitely give me more Kilowog.
I mean, they could have announced Nord, and that would have been funny for me, for my purposes, just to watch.
A lot of people were just like, when Alex DeWitt's name came out, people were like, "Oh, are they going to do the fridge thing?" And I'm like, they could always just stuff Nord in the fridge and nobody would notice.
Why did I figure you'd say something like that? And then I would start a hashtag Justice for Nord online. But no, so I mean, look. Given the age range or the target audience for the show, I don't think they're going to do the fridge thing.
I don't think they're going to go, absolutely,
Look,
off the wall horror.
Changes are going to be made. Just deal with it. Like at the end of the day, you still got the comics. Nobody's taking those away from you. So what's wrong with a different adaptation?
And again, Kyle Rayner in animation. Think about how little we've gotten Kyle over the years. Now we're going to get him, and maybe this show runs for several seasons, and Kyle becomes more of a mainstream character, and then we get him in live action movies,
right,
and so on and so forth.
But my thing is, like, again, your comics aren't going anywhere,
and that's a good point.
Unless maybe your wife or your mother decides to sell them without your knowledge, then I'm sorry, you're screwed. But unless that happens,
I want to point out that my wife actually went out and made sure that I had this comic today, Green Lantern 26, for this episode.
Well, that's a very good woman, Donnie,
yes.
And you should thank her hourly, daily, whatever you need to do. And then throw a little Martha joke in there just for fun.
Why did you say that name?
Because I know you like to do that. And I know that makes her roll her eyes at you every time you do. So, but yeah, so it's from my point of view, all these additions are cool, they sound fun, and I'm actually looking forward to this show.
Like what
it's gonna be more content for me and you to talk about. Great.
And a lot of people, look at all the people who were losing their minds over the fact that Guy was just going to be introduced in the Superman movie with no origin. Look what happened. Nathan Fillion knocked it out of the park.
And I'm just going to come out and say it, and people can yell and scream at me all you want. That's the best live-action Green Lantern we've ever seen.
I loved what he did.
Sorry, Ryan Reynolds, but...
And I'm a fan of Ryan Reynolds, by the way. I like that, but...
So am I, but I'm saying... When you take into account that movie had a lot of missteps, despite me liking it, but also Ryan Reynolds' constant bashing of Green Lantern throughout the years did the character no service. But now here we have a thing where, like, a friend of mine watched Superman for the first time now that it's on digital, and she's not familiar with the comics, but she said she liked Green Lantern because she recognized Nathan Fillion from some of the shows that she's watched with him in it. She thought the haircut was hilarious, to which I explained, but it's like that in the comic.
Right, that's, yeah.
And so she had fun with, Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific. And, of course, the prevailing opinion with the Superman movie is everybody, a lot of people love Krypto. She was definitely in that camp. But back to the Green Lantern of it all. To me, this is the best live action representation of that IP that we've gotten so far, and things are only seemingly going to get strengthened because you mentioned Lost. One of the creators of Lost, Damon Lindelof, is also working on one of the producers of Lanterns. So it's funny that the Kyle Rayner panel was in Lost, and now he's working on Lanterns. Interesting thing about that, and not really a news bit, or not much of a news bit. So yay! I think we're both in the yay column on everything we've said about my adventures with Green Lantern.
Oh, definitely. I will be overjoyed when that show premieres,
and we will be reviewing it here as the episodes come out. So with the live action Lantern shows, I think it was one of the series directors. He did an interview. He didn't say much, but he said, two things that kind of sparked my interest for fans that are worried, because all we've seen is a picture of Hal and John walking around in a desert-like landscape. He said, "Don't worry. All the aspects of the mythology and the intergalactic stuff and all the powers and stuff will be seen in the series. Don't worry." So he's assuring fans of that. But he also mentioned that they're hoping to put the best show possible that they can forward, because the intention is for it to become multiple seasons of television. That was very reassuring, because given the 8-episode nature of the show, my issue was, okay, is this going to be a one and done kind of deal? That doesn't seem to be the case. The intention seems to be, if it's received well, to have multiple seasons.
And they'll probably put more money into it if it is received well.
To which then I wonder, are we going to focus on a pair of different lanterns each season? Or like John could be the connective tissue through each season, right? Mm-hmm. Because but so that's I'm curious, could we, if we get multiple seasons, could we see a season focused on
Kyle or Simon?
Yeah, Kyle and Ceramic maybe, or since we're getting Sinestro in season 1, and then maybe another season with Simon and Jessica. So mm-hmm. all these things kind of run through my mind but I think the best part of that quote was, and it's not even the part where, don't worry, you're going to see all the cool intergalactic stuff and the powers, because I figured that. Like I didn't think they were going to Smallville it and not have them do the thing that they're known to do, right? So I wasn't concerned about that. But the cool thing about that quote was that the intention is multiple seasons of television. Mm-hmm. That's the part I like the most. So what do you think about that? Are you relieved by that idea, at least?
I have never been concerned that they were never going to go to space. Now, there is a possibility that I may come to the end of the season and say they weren't there enough. That's actually how I felt about the live action movie. I thought they spent too much time on Earth. But I think that they're realizing that the strength of Green Lantern is in how diverse the characters are, how diverse the backdrops are, and you can't take the cosmic element completely out of Green Lantern, or it won't be Green Lantern.
Well, I mean, he's got a cosmic ring. I mean, at the end of the day, right? He's got to have the ring, and we know both of them have a ring because we've seen it in the picture.
Right.
So, I mean, the ring is not just visual jewelry. It right. does.
And Guy specifically said the Green Lantern Corps in Superman. Yeah. So we know the Green Lantern Corps is in play, that they're not just limiting Green Lanterns to having, a hero having a powerful ring.
Yeah. So, really, I'm just, again, so far, just give me it. Yeah, I'm okay. Can I have it now? Is my question, and I know the answer is sorry, no.
Right.
Have patience, and I should be better at having patience because I'm a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So patience is my middle name, apparently. Someone should tell that to my blood pressure when I watch them. But that's another podcast, literally.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So again, more news regarding Green Lantern in other media that I'm liking what I'm hearing. So far, nothing is bad right now. So there's no need to go on the internet and act like one of Lex Luthor's mind-controlled monkeys.
Yeah, the monkey bot.
Spewing nonsense.
We're getting more comics, live-action Green Lantern, animated Green Lantern. I don't understand why some fans are still upset.
That would be like me having 5 of my multiverse wives showing up at my door and saying, "Yeah, but 6 through 10 aren't here. I'm upset." Wouldn't happen. I'll just tell you right now. You wouldn't see that from me. You probably wouldn't see me. I'd be busy. Donnie would have to do this program on his own for at least an episode. But,
I could do it. It wouldn't be nearly as interesting without you.
Right. It is what it is. But, if that situation ever arises, things a man's going to do what a man's going to do. But we're not there yet, so we won't worry about it. But I'm just saying, there's nothing to complain about here. That's the whole point. We talked, speaking of live action Green Lantern, we mentioned him briefly before. Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner is continuing his appearances in the DCU, and he appeared in season 2, episode 1 of Peacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
The first bit of that appearance was in the previously in the DCU segment where they recap Peacemaker.
Yeah.
And then, if you remember Peacemaker season 1, at the end of that season, there was an appearance of
the Justice League,
the DCEU, Zack Snyder's Justice League, where we saw it was Superman, a Wonder Woman,
Flash and Aquaman.
I can't remember if Batman's shadow was there.
I don't know if I think Cyborg was there too, wasn't he?
Yeah. And we understand why his shadow was there, because the actor was probably available, but who the hell wants to work with that guy? Anyway, the only 2 actors we saw were Jason Momoa's Aquaman and
the Flash
and Ezra Miller's Flash,
yeah.
And everybody else was in shadow. And then Peacemaker told them where to go, and Flash brought up the fish joke that Peacemaker had, which we won't repeat because this is not the Leaf podcast, so I'm trying to keep it PG-13. And then that was the extent of it. Well, in the previously on DCU, James Gunn recreated that scene, but removed Zack Snyder's Justice League characters and inserted the Justice Gang from Superman.
Yes. Hawk Girl, and we didn't see Mr. Terrific, but we saw Hawk Girl and Guy.
The characters present were David Cornsweet's Superman.
Yeah. Mr. Terrific was in shadow. You could see him.
Mr. Terrific was in shadow. David Cornsweet's Superman was in shadow. Supergirl was in shadow. The characters we actually visually saw were Guy Gardner, played by Nathan Fillion, as I said, and Isabella Merced, who played Hawkgirl, who is just because I haven't done an all episode on the list. And so basically, same idea. Peacemaker tells them, "You're late. Go screw yourself." In not so polite terms, and then basically, Hawkgirl calls him a meathead. To which Guy Gardner then says, "Screw that guy." He tells everybody, "I have a puke fetish," which was hilarious. So that was his first intro. So again, what do you think of James Gunn? Very easily explaining, like it wasn't convoluted, it wasn't overly explained. It was just, here's the Justice Gang, we're in the DCU, and here's why I love it, because it's two reasons. It's simple. Number one, it doesn't take brains for you to figure out. It's just, here it is, deal with it. And number two, you know why I like it? Because after I watched the episode, I went online and guess what I saw?
A bunch of melting down.
a bunch of Snyder cultists crying and whining in their parents' basement, and that brings me joy. Because certain people should never get what they want, and those are the kind of people. But what did you think of the switch out?
Well, it's like you said. I felt it was seamless. It didn't take up too much time. They didn't have to do too many multiversal shenanigans to try to explain what was happening. Just, okay, here's a different version now, and Guy and Hawk Girl are here, and instead of what you knew before, and this is where we're going forward.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm going to choose any version of the Justice League that includes a Green Lantern over one that doesn't, because I always felt like the previous version was incomplete.
Oh, you mean Yellinger didn't do it for you?
No, I was happy that Yellinger was there, but I mean, come on.
Oh, okay.
The fact that after and in some ways it makes it worse. I'm like, so the Guardians and the Green Lantern Corps would have known about Darkseid because he killed one of their own, or Steppenwolf at least. He killed one of their own, but yet where were they? Where were they?
Yeah. And so that didn't really. I mean, you were happy to see him, but it didn't really do anything for you. And just so we're clear, the supposed garage filmed scene that never aired of a guy that was never actually hired to play John Stewart, that didn't tickle your fancy either. Okay, well,
there are so many people who are acting like that was an actual event.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen him as John Stewart, but we didn't see anything except one photo.
Yeah, you know what? I act like in my head that I actually have 100 multiverse wives. Much to my chagrin, when I step outside the four walls that I live in, that doesn't exist.
Right.
It's just in my head. And unless I get a functioning Green Lantern ring or a Blue Lantern ring, I can't make a construct of anything. So it's still just in my head. So any of the Guardians out there, you want to send me a ring? That does that, so I can create multiverse like constructs of my multiverse wives. I'm available. I'll fight some aliens, so I got no problem with that.
Oh, but I would have to really control myself, because I mean we'd be watching the Stanley Cup playoffs one year, and all of a sudden the announcers would say, "Where did that green hockey stick come from?" and trip Sam Bennett.
Yeah, that right up easy for that.
He hit the ice and knocked himself out. And now that hockey stick is knocking him unconscious.
That's a good idea. I never thought of that, but that's what I would use it for. But anyway,
every time he tries to get up, it's knocking him unconscious again.
Guardians, if you're out there and want to send a ring my way, I'll take it happily. I'll take up the cost. So that was the one scene, and so we're in agreement on that. Then the second scene was in the recruitment interview where so you have Hawk Girl, Maxwell Lord, and Green Lantern behind a glass.
Yeah.
And they're interviewing Peacemaker, who's sitting on the other side of the glass, and they have basically a button that's supposed to turn on and off their audio.
Yes.
So they're asking Peacemaker questions.
Yes.
And he's answering, and then when they turn the audio off, he's not supposed to hear them. They're basically ripping him a new one, insulting every one of his answers.
Right.
But the problem is, he can still hear them.
He can hear them, yeah. Because
Guy was supposed to handle the audio and visual of it all, but he didn't know what he was doing, so he outsourced it to one of the bodyguards, who obviously didn't know what they were doing either.
Right. Well, and the building that they were in looked like really dilapidated. So it was
the Clank Toys, which is an obscure Batman villain, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and so all of the audio visual equipment they were working with looked very old and
it looked like 50 years old.
Yeah, years old. And so he heard the conversation between Guy and Hawk Girl about, she was like, "Yeah, I want to snack on popcorn instead of something else because my butt's getting too big." And Guy was like, "My butt's not big enough." He's like, I'm naked.
When she said that, I'm gonna need visual evidence of that. Could you stand up? Just Chris. And then when Guy started talking, I'm like, no, you can just stay seated. I don't need to see that.
He's like, yeah, I'm flat back there. She was like, ew.
But you know what? I think that fits Guy Gardner. That's the kind of attitude he would have, right?
Yeah.
And again, he wants nothing to do with Peacemaker because of the puke fetish comments that he's spewing around, right? So
yeah. Not to mention Peacemaker would be somewhat difficult for the Justice League. Somebody who kills as indiscriminately as he does at times.
Yeah.
And that's something they brought up. They're like, how many people have you killed? And he's like, most of them deserved it. And Maxwell Lord was like, and what about the ones who didn't deserve it?
To which, fair point, he's right. Most of them did deserve it.
Yes.
And just on a side note for Peacemaker, I like that his character is evolving. He's trying, like he's acknowledged, the trauma that's led him to be this way.
He is developing, yes.
Yeah, he is developing as a character, so that's cool. But I thought especially just the Guy Gardner stuff was very on brand for Guy Gardner. Like that's him. Like if any PG-13 DC character fits in this R-rated show, it is Guy Gardner. Like he slides into it seamlessly, right? He's just so good. Like he's just Nathan Fillion is so perfect for this role. And yes,
we are very lucky that he was cast and that he did his homework and has put so much into this role.
And if you think about it, he's also voiced Hal Jordan, so he's really.
And he's a comic book collector. He's very invested and very respectful of the history of various DC characters.
Yeah, so I like seeing him in this, and I can't wait to see him in Lanterns to see how he interacts with John. That's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's funny because in an interview, even Nathan Fillion acknowledged that he's hopefully looking forward to the moment where he has that exchange with Batman and Batman punches him in the face. To which, of course, I want to see because I want to see DCU Batman.
I wouldn't mind, and the moment Hal returning the favor either, but
I'm sure we might see that down the road. Yeah,
we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, but so like I said, I like the interconnectivity, and it seems like the live action DCU is off to a really good start. People enjoyed Superman. The box office did very, very well. The premiere for Peacemaker season 2 was 22% higher than the season finale for season 1 in terms of viewership. So that's going well as well. So, things are looking good for.
And you have to attribute that. Don't get me wrong. John Cena plays the role well, but the interest in Superman and this new continuity has got to be a big part of that increase. Right.
And also, and that's right. So you got to give credit to James Gunn because the characterization of Superman and those characters in that movie really struck a chord with people. The way he's causing Peacemaker to evolve as a character is intriguing people. So you got to give credit where credit is due. To James Gunn, obviously for John Cena for performing the role the way he does. It's endeared himself to people. So, but all this is a good sign for the live action DCU. And if Peacemaker continues to go well, that's only building momentum for Lanterns and Supergirl. So this is all good news. So I'm very pleased, and I'm looking again. I can't wait to see more of Guy Gardner's appearances. So let's keep the fun times rolling, is what I say. But any final thoughts on Guy Gardner's appearance before we take a break and move on?
No, I'm very happy that it's like you said, that interconnectivity of the movies and the shows, to put that out there to say that this is going to be a shared universe, and that we're not going to get the choppiness that we've had previously where some things were involved and some things weren't. And, there was a lot of problems with the studios and the projects and the overall vision before. There does not seem to be that now.
And there is a segment of people saying, well, how could you follow up, PG-13 family-friendly Superman with an R-rated Peacemaker? To which I say, look, Two things. One, at some point, a parent's got to do their job.
Sure.
Monitor what your kids are watching. That's why the ratings exist.
Yeah.
Number one.
I mean, had I had if when my kids were interested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, had they been 8 and 13 or 5 and 10 or something like that, I definitely wouldn't have let them watch Multiverse of Madness
or Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm sure.
Exactly.
But so that's number one. Parents at some point got a parent. Number two, I don't see an issue having a completely different tone, because when you pick up a comic, a DC comic, not every comic has the same tone.
Mm-hmm.
Green Lantern is very intergalactic. But then if you pick up a comic featuring John Constantine, which is in that universe, it's a very different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
The tone is completely different. So it's not doing anything that comics haven't done. It's not reinventing the wheel, folks.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, why would you want every project to be the same? This is kind of the pitfall that Marvel is facing. And I love the MCU for the most part. There's some projects I didn't care for, but for the most part, I love it. But the general audience is noticing a sense of sameness through a lot of the projects. And they've kind of shunned some of them. How do you combat that? By making every project, while it's set in the same universe, different, unique.
Mm-hmm.
And so I applaud James Gunn and his team for doing that. The fact that next year we're going to have Supergirl, Lanterns, and then an R-rated horror film, Clayface, all set in the same universe, that's intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see the problem there. It just requires parents to be a little vigilant,
mm-hmm.
and not say, here's my tablet. By the way, see the phone case. See, this protects my phone. The Leafs don't protect my heart because they break it every year in May. But yeah, so I don't see a problem there. It's you gotta, parents got a parent, and if you're not of age to watch something, sorry. Supergirl,
I remember
Supergirl's right around the corner.
And some people are unaware. And I do remember years ago, and I'll date this by saying the fact that I was in a video store. But do you remember when the animated version of Flashpoint came out?
Yes.
Okay. And which featured, at the end, Thomas Wayne doing the headshot with Reverse Flash and blowing his brains out. Okay. I saw like a 4-year-old kid picking that out, and his mother was like, "Oh, okay, you can buy that." And I was like, "Ma'am, do you have any idea what the content is here?" And I turned it over and showed her the rating. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." I was like, "Yeah, I've seen this, and I think he might find it a little intense."
Yeah, see, that's what I mean.
And maybe he hated me that night, but at least hopefully he grew up and understood.
I'm not judging parents. I'm just saying, you gotta look.
Yes.
Like you gotta pay attention.
Yeah, exactly. It's there's still with some people there's this idea of everything that's superhero related is kid friendly, and that is obviously not true.
I remember the first Deadpool. I saw kids in that movie, and I'm like, what are these people doing? Like being taken by their parents. I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
Like, let's go back to Watchmen.
Yeah.
Parents with their kids in there, and at first I'm like, what are you doing? Second of all, I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to look at the screen when Dr. Manhattan comes on because I don't want to see his blue dog. But I'm going to watch this parent and this kid's reaction because that intrigues me. I want to see that. And
I remember going to see.
You know what happened? The parent was disgusted and walked out with her kid.
Yeah.
It's like
if you'd have done your research just a little bit, you would have known.
Hold on. Did you see the R on the poster? Yeah. What do you think that stood for? Robin?
Yeah. I remember seeing I'm pretty sure it was a father and a very young kid. The kid was like 5 or 6 years old. Took him in to see Ghost Rider in the theater. And guess what happened halfway through? The kid was blatting his head off because he was scared to death. I was like, did you really think that movie looked like it was warm and fuzzy?
And that's not even an R-rated movie. That's PG-13.
Right. But, I mean, all of the villains, obviously, very scary. Not to mention Ghost Rider himself.
Yeah, depending on how old the kid is, right?
Yeah.
That's
like I said, this was and the kid was just screaming his head off because he's in a theater with this huge amount of imagery around him, and he was scared.
Yeah. And so that's what I mean. Just do a little bit of quick research. And it's not hard. We all have cell phones. It's not like the information is not there.
Yeah, in the information age, all you got to do is a quick search and just see how people are reacting and talking about the content. But anyway.
So there it is. But yeah, I see no problem with having a PG-13 movie followed up by an R-rated show. So we'll see how it progresses, but loved seeing Guy in this. Loved the retcon of season 1. I thought it was hilarious and made me happy. Seek the Meltdown. And can't wait to see more of Guy in Lanterns and wherever else they decide he should pop up. So looking forward to that. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side of the break, we're going to come back and talk comics. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Don't go anywhere. What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast. For all of your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows, which include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast. You can check us out on Podbean, and remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. From the first podcast to the last. And we're back.
We are indeed. And as promised, it's comic book time. And given that there's a reading order specifically for this, we better review it in that order. So, Donnie, I think we're on Green Lantern Corps number 7.
You are correct. We're going with Green Lantern Corps number 7. And you'll notice on the cover, it actually says the Starbreaker Supremacy Part 2.
Yeah.
So we already reviewed Part 1, and now we're going into this.
We did. Yeah.
And if you remember from that story, there was a tremendous wave that went out from Starbreaker's plans that basically rid the universe of emotion.
Yeah.
And you see that reflected here. It opens up on the planet Ferengale. And the inhabitants of Ferengale and all of the backdrops here, they're done in grays and tans, and everything is very muted to send out this idea of, an emotionless existence.
So the color, the colorist found Zack Snyder's color palette and just used it. That's good.
It really is kind of similar to that. Very, very, very muted, very earth tones, and the artwork here is really great. I actually prefer. I really like V. Ken Marion's work there. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Yes,
but this opens up with Starbreaker saying that the reason why his plan is unfolding is that without emotions, people are not going to resist him. And so he destroys this planet, consumes the energy from the sun. Without emotions, people can't take action. They can't stand against him. And so now the Starbreaker Corps, they're just kind of rolling over the universe.
That's, again, it's a pretty interesting scenario for a villain in terms of to strip people of their emotions.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially for, Green Lanterns and other Lantern Corps, they operate by using emotions as light-based weapons.
As an energy for their Ring's abilities, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you rid them of the abilities to feel those emotions, it's going to decrease their powers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, the scene cuts to Oa, and we see that John Stewart, again, very emotionless here. Mm. And the sequential art here, very effective. And he's talking to the spirit of Shirley, his mother, if you remember, all the way back from from the PKJ series.
Yeah.
If you remember that from the end of that, Shirley Stewart, a version of her, like her spirit is in the ring. But because he's emotionless here, he doesn't feel the connection like he did before.
Yeah.
Like we saw at the end of War Journal. So the ring is telling him, you've got to get up and do something. And he's like, you're not my mother. You're this representation of her, and I couldn't see it before. And so the ring itself actually takes action separate from John. And I like this idea that the vitality of Shirley Stewart is actually taking a role in this story.
You know what's really cool about that? Is that the ring is just like hovering or floating in front of him. Mm-hmm. And you could almost see like a mother scolding her son to get up and go. Like she's ripping him a new one in the ring, like the ring is ripping him a new one. This is fantastic.
Which is exactly what a mother would do to a son who's just like, there's this huge cosmic problem, but I don't feel like doing anything right now. And she'd be like, Especially her. I mean, we saw with her backstory how much of a warrior spirit she had.
Right.
And so when we go to the central command here, we see across all of these screens the Starbreaker Corps, what they're doing, and how we see that various heroes, we see like a panel of the Justice League here, they're just kind of milling along because they've been robbed of their emotions.
Yeah, we even see the Joker at one point. They're kind of looking.
Joker, who's just kind of going through the motions himself.
Yeah, which is
because there's not his malicious glee.
Maybe we should leave him without his emotions when this is all said and done.
That might not be a bad idea.
Can we selectively choose who gets him back? Because
maybe they could save like one sorrow ring and give it to Batman and say, hey, whenever you need to use this, just slip it on somebody's finger.
Who knows Sorrow better than Batman, right?
But in addition to the characters who are kind of spearheading the action here, we have Aya and Jadestone. And the reason that they're not stripped of their emotions is because they use synthetic types of emotions. Remember, they're like AI characters.
Right.
Okay? And so being that they're not organic, they still have their emotions, and they're trying to figure out a way to give all of the Lanterns back their abilities to use their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Also really like the art here on the bottom of the page when they're talking to Sinestro and Vexaru and Carol. You see their reflections reflected in the ring, and the art and the coloring there are just gorgeous.
The art is amazing. I think it's Fernando Passerin, right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's everything I've read with his art looks beautiful, stunning. And it's funny because, as you said, those two characters plus the ring through Shirley is trying to appeal to logic to sort of get all the Lanterns off their butts to do something. And as I was reading all that, every time they mentioned logic or I'm like, being a Star Trek fan, I'm like, this feels very Spock-like.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's what Aya and Shirley in the ring and Jadestone are trying to do. Yeah. They're trying to appeal to the Lanterns' reason to get them to offer some kind of resistance, because that's all they can do right now is try to engage their collective reasoning, because they can't use their emotions to spur them on. And there's a hilarious scene here too where they try to get Guy into the fold, and he's like, well, with all of my problems with emotions in the past, this is actually the best I've felt in years. So I don't necessarily want to be involved in this. He tries to argue, and Aya's like, I don't have time for this. And she just clocks him. And lays him out too, by the way. Not that he put his hands up or like tried to resist, but she clocks him.
That was good. I love that when in doubt and you need an action scene, just have somebody punch Guy in the face.
So this book, as well as the other issue that we're going to review here, really pulls in a a lot of old stories. We've already mentioned War Journal. Now we're going to talk about the old series Lights Out. And that story, it actually mentions that here. And it shows when Kyle Rayner forced Relic through the source wall.
Mm.
And we see that when Kyle came back through the source wall, he lost his memory of what happened there. And now he's regaining it. And we see that the entities are on the other side of the source wall and alive.
That was really interesting. And again, the art for the flashbacks of Kyle, in that situation was really good. Really looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love those scenes. They were awesome.
And so this part of the story ends with, Aya telling people that if they don't do something, that you're all going to die if you offer no resistance at all. And you can see that the Lanterns are trying to, and by the way, none of them are in their uniforms. They're all just in civilian clothes, and
Right.
They're all just kind of milling around and having these lifeless conversations because they're void of emotion.
Right.
And you can see even Hal trying to process what he needs to do, but he's having trouble without the emotional content that he needs.
And again, I think those scenes really speak to the skill and quality of the artist,
Mm-hmm.
because in the way an artist has to convey emotion or lack of emotion in this case, it really speaks to their talent and what they can do, because
Mm-hmm.
like you feel their lack of anything really.
Well, and it's like you and I talked about the art, the way that it's been handled here. Green Lantern comics are usually very vibrant, filled with various colors, especially green. And we get some of that here, but it's also very muted and dull, purposely so, to make you feel like it's an environment that has been robbed of the complex emotions that really define this mythos.
Yeah, it was stunning to look at, because it's like, wow, I'm not used to seeing them in this way.
Mm-hmm. So now we cut to the Castle of the Desolate Stone.
Which sounds like an Undertaker thing.
I always love that. And the Starbreaker Corps realizes here, they're like, we have a problem. The Green Lanterns are on the move. And the Green Lanterns head towards the source wall, where they are intercepted by the Starbreaker Corps. And remember, Starbreaker, one of the abilities here is to grow enormous, and he intercepts the Interceptor, which is able to break out of his control and then make it through the source wall.
Yeah, it's I just think that the Interceptor, I like how they're using the Interceptor.
Mm-hmm. Which is finally flying the right way.
Yeah, they fixed that issue. But just like the way they it's able to break through the Starbreaker's sort of interception.
Mm-hmm.
They're making it formidable.
So once they're on the other side of the source wall, and I don't think they show it actually until the next episode, the next issue, but they start to feel their emotions again. And the reason why that is because all of the entities are indeed alive. And they are on the other side of the source wall. And here we see, the Predator and the Butcher and Ophidian and Adara, they're all here. And, obviously enormous, representations around the Interceptor.
Right.
And that's how this issue ends, except for a preview of Justice League Red, which, by the way, Simon Baz is in, if you're interested. So
right, yeah. So
I picked up the first issue of that. I haven't read it yet. So
yeah, I read that too. I haven't read it. It's in my digital download on my Amazon, so I'll have to check that out. But Yeah, seeing the entities and the different covers, like you get a sense of, okay, things are going to pick up here. Well, how's this going to unfold? How's this interaction going to go now? So that was really,
That's Green Lantern Corps number 7, available from DC Comics.
So do you want to rate it as a separate thing before we move on to Green Lantern?
Do you want to do a separate rating, or do you want to rate both of them?
Well, they're both part of one story, so I guess we could do them together after we're done. Yeah, okay.
Okay, we can do it that way. So
all right, cool.
Let's move on to Green Lantern number 26. And if you like action, the issue before this, Green Lantern Corps number 7, is a lot of setup.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to imply that it's not good. There is some action, but it's a lot of setup for where this story is going.
Which you need in a part 2 of a 6-part,
Yes.
story. It's not going to be, hey, let's do all action all the time, right?
Mm-hmm. And this opens up at the source wall, and the Starbreaker Corps, they kind of remind me of the Master and all of his Strigoi. In you're not a horror fan, so you probably never watched The Strain, but he says, will consume their souls, and so that kind of reminded me of that.
Interesting.
We also get, by the way, again, V.K. Marion's art here is just gorgeous.
Yeah,
I think he's especially good for drawing Kyle. I really like the way he drew Kyle.
Yeah, I think that's his best character. I mean, they're all good, but I think
but he really draws.
There's a sweet spot when it comes to Kyle.
Yes, and some of the previews were out there, and the entities include Parallax, which a lot of people were like, okay, well, that's a continuity problem because Parallax is dead. But we see that actually this fear entity, this new Parallax, if you will, has been created by the fear of the other entities for their own existence. They say that here. So he took care of that particular little continuity problem by explaining that that's why we have this new entity that's been created here.
It's almost like you shouldn't overreact to previews without knowing the context of the story. What a concept, eh?
Exactly. And I'll say this, in the past, I've never been the biggest fan of the entities because I don't necessarily think that they were necessary for the mythos. It's kind of like the Force. Like, you don't need the Force to be an incarnate being. It's kind of, an ethereal type of thing. It's a mystical type of thing. However, if you're going to use them, the way that Jeremy Adams has used them here, very effective. And obviously lends credence to this gigantic scope of a story to see all of these beings here gathered together.
Yeah, it was like I said. Yeah, what I think is really sort of also interesting about that is, Jeremy Adams makes the concept make sense, but also the way they're drawn gives them a scope and a heft, and a sort of importance, right? Like just like you're drawn into them as you're looking at a page, and they seem larger than life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And again, the art here, whereas the previous issue, we were talking about the muted colors. With the entities being here, this is very bright and very vibrant. And we also see a flashback moment where the life entity helped Kyle Rayner become the White Lantern.
Right.
And in this issue, he actually helps the entities move back through the source wall. He actually pulls them back. And when he absorbs like all of these energies and transforms from his Green Lantern costume to the White Lantern outfit, these 2 pages, and I'll show them here. This won't do it justice, but that's just some incredible art. Coloring.
Yeah, that is so cool.
That, man, that's so awesome. But one thing I do want to point out, too, another thread that, remember, we saw in previous issues is that there was some kind of being. Remember the mind maze? There was some kind of being manipulating that. There's a scene here where somebody has taken control of Kelly Quintella, and she moves to attack Simon Baz. but it's only that one panel back on Oa.
Yeah, so
And it doesn't seem to be connected to the Starbreaker core.
No, it doesn't at all.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see to watch that play out.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, this is the only issue. I shouldn't say issue. That's kind of confusing. The only maybe a minor problem I had with the narrative here is that Hal has a suspicion about the entities, about the way they use other beings, and he's like, we're going to go back and we're going to fight this battle together, and we're going to combine, but after this is over, we don't want to see you anymore. And some of the other lanterns are like, okay, what is he talking about here? And I'm like, okay, once they're back on the other side of the source wall, where are they going to go? If the lanterns don't want anything to do with them, I'm like, are they not going to be joined to the batteries at all? Are they not going to have any effect on the batteries or the rings? Exactly what's their purpose going to be beyond this story?
Interesting questions. But do you think that the entities are just going to separate?
Well,
from them after this, can we trust them?
I think they could go off. They don't necessarily need to continue in this story, but for this idea that we're not going to see them anymore, you have beings that are this powerful and have been established to be part of this mythos. Then what are they going to do?
No, yeah, I know that, but I don't trust the fact that they're going to be true to their word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they all have mysterious motivations, especially ones like, Parallax and the Butcher.
Yeah, so
we have this two-page splash where Kyle brings the entities through the source wall, and man, that's I would love that as a poster.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Oh man, that is.
Like, there's so much going on in that double page. So much to look at.
So, but he can't sustain the white. Remember, we talked about that before. He can only sustain the White Lantern energy for so long.
Yeah.
And he's rescued here by Hal. And then we get this big clash between the Starbreaker Corps and the Green Lanterns. And the Green Lanterns, they decide that the way to go about this is to start chopping the hands off of the Starbreakers and separating them from their rings.
Mm.
And so we see a couple hands get chopped off, and pretty brutal, but I liked it.
Well, that's one way to do it. They're not going to willingly let you take it off their finger, so.
Yeah. And so they move to escape, and Hal says, just wait a minute. We're going to follow them back, and then we're going to finish this. And we see the lanterns. This is how this issue concludes. We see the lanterns and the entities pursuing the Starbreaker Corps back for a final clash.
Which probably won't be the final clash because there's, another 3 issues left?
Well, that battle may spread out over a couple of issues.
Yeah.
It's not going to necessarily be that issue.
Yeah. So,
but it's going to be interesting. I have been, kind of bouncing around in my head about who that might be that has been, controlling Kelly and was, there manipulating the mind maze. So, he did, again, we did see Relic. We did mention, Jeremy Adams did mention Lights Out. I guess that's one possibility. Sinestro doesn't seem like a possibility. It's not his modus operandi. Plus, he is obviously still with the Green Lanterns at this point. So, I'm guessing that's going to be a big surprise down the road and kind of the way that they segue into the next arc.
Yeah, I can't see it being Sinestro, given he's already done, to quote pro wrestling again, he's already gone from heel to face to heel. So, how many times can we do that and think it's a surprise, right? So
exactly. And it seems to be more of a horror type of villain. So, maybe somebody like Black Hand or somebody like that who we haven't seen in a while and we're not automatically suspecting them. It could be someone like that.
Could be interesting, yeah. Could it be Atrocitus, you think, maybe?
It's possible, but this it doesn't seem like somebody from a Corps. It seems more. I don't know. That's just the vibe that I get. It's somebody who's familiar with the Lanterns, but at the same time operates in a more horror type of way, which I know that could be atrocitus, but Kelly, her eyes aren't glowing red. They're glowing white. And it seems like somebody who has that type of ability to move through, various types of realities and take over another being. So I'm not exactly sure yet.
It's going to be really interesting. Really interesting.
But let me just say this. With these two issues, with all of the great art and the fact that Jeremy Adams brought back a lot of toys and put them all in the toy box for this. And I love that when we talk about bringing back certain parts of the continuity and making everything make sense.
Right.
And Kyle has a featured role in this, and I love that. And the battles from issue number 26 were amazing. And also, 2 issues, no Nort. That's a positive, too.
I knew you'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah. Unless he was milling around in one of the back panels or whatever, I didn't see him. So I'm like, all right, cool.
Well, hey, if that makes you happy, that's the main thing. Although I'm still loving James Gunn for a Nort Christmas special. Because you love Christmas, and then you'd have to watch it. And
well, I would review it for all Green Lantern fans. As a podcaster, that's my responsibility.
I would have fun with it, and then I'd probably, if they did a figure, I'd probably send you one for Christmas.
There is a Nort. There is a Nort figure out there. I think it's from Justice League International, and no, I don't own it, and I don't plan to.
Well, that's what I'm looking up on Amazon tonight to send to you for Christmas.
I would review it and donate it.
Well, whatever you do with it after the fact is up to you. I just want to see a video of your reaction when you open it. And Amazon has a gift wrapping option, so I could.
Yeah, you do that. I'm sending you a Hab shirt.
Well, listen, I could always use more toilet paper. You can never run out of toilet paper, so it's all good. But so yeah, I like these big, epic events that connect within within a franchise, within the DC universe. In this case, it's Green Lantern. Then sometimes Superman has a crossover between the different Superman books and the Bat books and all that. I like those I guess teams crossovers where it's just confined to a particular set of characters as opposed to the whole wider DC universe where I got to get 10,000 books that I don't necessarily read. So I like these big events within the Green Lantern mythos. Mm-hmm. And this is shaping up to be a very interesting one with enough action to make things extra exciting.
And Jeremy Adams, he concentrates on different groups of characters from book to book. Yeah. Remember how the last episode we were talking about the issue of Green Lantern Corps that focused on Jessica and Joe going to save Mogo.
Yeah.
Whereas this time, Jade Stone and Aya and Shirley Stewart in the ring, remembering, and using those effectively in this story. Yeah. That's very appealing to me that it's not always focused on one or two characters.
And that's what I'm liking about obviously this connected crossover where a lot of different Green Lantern characters are getting in the spotlight, mm-hmm. depending on the issue. But also, that's why I think having the Green Lantern Corps book, as it's been constructed so far for the first 7 issues, is important because each issue seems like we're getting a focus on a specific couple of lanterns, and I like that. Mm-hmm. It's the best of both worlds for all involved. For the people that just want Hal stories, aside from this crossover, you can find that in Green Lantern.
Yeah, Hal's gotten plenty of focus here.
Yeah, but if people also want to see Kyle, John, Guy, all the other characters, Jessica, etc. They have the Green Lantern core book, and so nobody. The way this is set up, like just in general, not just this crossover, nobody should be disappointed. I mean, there still are people that are disappointed because people on the internet are going to act like people on the internet. But there really is no reason to feel shortchanged or disappointed if you're a Green Lantern fan right now. And these
No, I agree. I'm not going to sit here and say things are always perfect, but when you get this much good material, even with the issues you might have here or there, if you're a fan of a mythos, how could you be upset with everything we're getting right now?
That, and let's remember, folks, that this is entertainment. Comics are a form of entertainment. These characters are entertainment. There are more important things that go on between the opening and closing of a book to worry about, fret about, and complain about. Mm-hmm. And be angry about and sad about and all the other things. But when you have a chance to sit down and watch something or read something that features characters that you care about, that you love, that make you feel like you're a kid again, take that time and focus on enjoying it. That's what this should...
and that's what it's supposed to be. You and I, we've talked a lot about what I've been through recently with the death of a loved one. Yeah. These kind of distractions can just take your mind off of things just for a little while,
even for 5 or 10 minutes, or however long it takes you to read however many books you have.
Yeah,
or 42 minutes to watch an episode of Peacemaker that features Guy Gardner. Whatever it is, just enjoy it. Yeah. Put the problems of life aside and enjoy it. Those will still be there when that's over. Unfortunately, that's how it works.
Yeah.
But you at some point we'll have to get up an adult. But for 5 minutes to 60 minutes to 120 minutes, whatever it is, if you're engaging in something you enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. And right now, in terms of Green Lantern, I see nothing but reasons to enjoy at this point. So let's rate these issues. Again, we do 5 for story and 5 for art. So, Donnie, take it away.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go 5 and 5 again. I mean, I did kind of go back and forth on that whole point with Hal about him saying, yeah, we're just, we're going to have this alliance and,
yeah,
we're going to have this alliance, but then you have to go away and no longer be a factor after that. I want to see how that plays out first because it seemed like such an odd thing to say, but this has unfolded. This has been so much fun so far up until this point. And seeing all these various characters get developed. B. Ken Marion, the art here is gorgeous. So
yeah, for me, like I said, that's an interesting point that you raised. That could be an issue depending on how you handle it, like with the entities. But right now, it's not an issue because they're still involved. So, like you, I got to see how it plays out. But for these 2 issues, it's 5 for story and 5 for art. Like, I mean, whether you go from on the art side, V. Ken Marion or Fernando Pizarro, you can't go wrong. Like it's what you're looking at is just absolutely stunning. And then, Jeremy Adams, like I've said it before, I'll say it again, and this has nothing to do with the fact that he's come on the show. I haven't enjoyed or looked forward to reading. I mean, I've always enjoyed and looked forward to reading Green Lantern because I love the character. But I haven't looked forward to or enjoyed it this much since the Jeff Johns era first started. So he's clearly, at least in my opinion, doing something right. And my message is keep doing it. So
Well,
it's
and a
5 and
lot of
5 for me as
people
well.
are who enjoyed, the rebirth era, the early years of Volume 4. A lot of people are making that comparison now to everything that we've gotten, not only with Jeremy Adams but with PKJ and
Yeah,
and
definitely.
and as well as Absolute, which, by the way, we're going to get to Absolute next episode.
Next episode, yeah.
We're going to make sure that we have not forgotten that. We just haven't had time to get all of our ducks in a row.
From the second issue to the last, because we already did number 1.
Exactly. That's what we're going to do next time.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm just loving it, and keep up the good work as everybody involved.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if you want to talk more Green Lantern, Donnie and I are available to do so. Where do they find you, sir?
You can find me on Facebook and Blue Sky and, of course, YouTube, where I do lots of Green Lantern product reviews. You want to find me there? Let's talk comics. Let's talk collectibles. Let's talk Green Lantern.
I'm on all those places as well. I'm also on the cesspool that is Twitter. I'll post some of the links for both of our socials in the description, as well as the Facebook group. And if you want to join, you can. But until next time, remember that Green Lantern is forever. From the first time they pull the entities out of the source wall to the last. So long, everybody.
So long, everyone.